Hey guys, Paul here, and this is another video update to Boy Destroyer 2. So you can see baby's a little bit bigger, right? You're a little bit bigger, right? I'm a little more tired, especially because it's daylight savings time. But anyway, things are progressing. We're continuing as best as we can, as best as little guy allows it. So what's been going on? So the past two updates haven't made an update video. They dealt with story missions, so I didn't want to, create spoilers, spoil stuff for you guys, things like that. But now, something that I can demonstrate is proper implementation of carriers. So, are we getting too fussy? Yeah, we're getting too fussy. So, I'm going to put you back in your little baby jail. Alrighty, so baby is asleep, and I have actual time to get some work done. Let's talk about carriers. Here is our big boy. This is the Rex. It is a beggar carrier. The beggars are a pirate faction. Yeah, pretty big ship. Not a lot of guns, but that's not the point of carriers. The point of carriers is to be able to dock ships, build ships, launch fighters, things like that. They're not going to be in the middle of a battle. They're not going to be the front assault of a battle. They're going to be the ships that sort of lead the battle, that command the battle. So first off, we want to be able to dock with a carrier, right? Otherwise, it would be pretty lame. So we have this ship targeted. We're going to fly into its hangar area. And here we are. We are docked with this carrier. So if you notice, this works exactly the same way as a base. You can walk around. You can see your little docked fighter here. You have buttons down here. But unlike a base, we can click this button here, pilot carrier ship. And we are now in the pilot seat of this carrier. And what we want to do is we actually want to go back to our base. Get some upgrades that we're going to need for a little bit. So what I'm trying to highlight is that carriers, sort of behind the scenes, carriers are ships that carry bases as far as the code goes. And this let me save quite a lot of time on coding and figuring things out, because all the interfaces are already there in bases. I just had to hook in the ability for a ship to carry a base. So let's go ahead. Let's dock with this base. Of course, we're docked as the carrier. And I want to do some upgrades. So I want to install a tractor beam, shield generator, armor plating. I want more fuel. I want to be faster because this thing is really, really slow. Forward thrust, again, I want to be faster. Gravity drive trigger. And I also want to have a recharge. There it is. So the cool thing is about a carrier being a base is a lot of these interfaces just work. So here, carriers can manufacture ships, just like bases can manufacture ships. But of course, we need something to build ships out of, right? So we need ore. So in this commerce screen, you can go ahead, you can take ore into the carrier. If this was a base that we didn't own, we could buy the ore. So let's take 10,000 units of ore from our base. Let's go ahead, undock. There we are. And let's go ahead and switch back into our carrier. Here we are. And let's go ahead, let's build some ships. So I want to build some vultures, and in a carrier, I don't have the option to buy ships. It doesn't make any sense you would buy ships in your own carrier. You can only build them. However, the nice thing is that it will only use up ore. You're not going to use up credits. The idea is that inside of carriers, the upkeep that you pay for the carrier, that pays everybody's salary. So you don't have to worry about credits. So let's go ahead. Let's build a bunch of vultures. Let's take a look at our hangar. We see that vultures are going to be built here. And let's go ahead. Let's build a buzzard and another buzzard. So carriers can build fighters, gunships, and even corvettes. The difference being is that when you build fighters, they're going to be built to your hangar. However, when you build a corvette, the corvette is going to be immediately launched from your ship. So I decided that there's our base. Just want to make sure I have all the fuel that I need here. So I just dock with that base again. Let's go ahead and boost our way out of here. So I decided that while fighters will be built to a hangar and gunships, corvettes will just launch. The idea is that while this carrier is pretty large, it's not large enough to house multiple corvettes into it. Just realistically, you really can't see happening. Just so sort of that immersion, I decided that corvettes are just going to launch immediately. So we are now in overworld mode, and let's find some trouble. We're moving pretty fast. Even though the carrier is really slow, we're on a factor of 5.5 times faster time compression. So even though the carrier is slow, moving pretty fast, we don't want to waste the player's time. Void Destroyer 2 is not about like long travel times. And I see my ships are being built here. That's real nice. I paid some upkeep there. And I want to highlight something else before we get into combat. I want to find a particular platform. There it is. I'm going to save the game here. So, like I was saying, you can buy resources from bases, you can take resources from bases, but you can also buy resources from these platforms that manufacture ore. So if you remember in the recent update, I made it so platforms actually produce goods, and I can go ahead, I can open comms, and I can buy cargo from it. So you have a few ways of resupplying your carrier. You can buy the cargo, and if you do buy cargo from the platforms, I suggest that you get a tractor beam. Otherwise, it's just going to take you forever. It's going to take you forever to actually pick up the cargo pod. There we go. So you can buy them from bases. You can take them from owned bases. You can buy them from platforms. Any way that there's a cargo pod in space, you can do it. So you could even, like ambush a mining ship. You could have your own mining ship in your fleet doing the mining. You can even steal them, right? So I'm going to steal this guy. Of course, this guy's not happy. Just keep stealing. There we go. And its defensive platforms are going to be mad at me now. They're going to be shooting. Of course, our guys are not going to let that happen. So they've wiped out their defenses. And now we are wanted, right? So it's sort of not a great idea to steal unless you want to be a wanted criminal. But now that we have some more ore, let's see, can we build a corvette? Yes, we can. So let's build some rhinos here. There we go. Now let's get out of here. Let's get out of this area of space and find some trouble. Find some combat. Alright, so we want to find a nice... Oh, we got some bounty hunters. Potentially, looks like they decided not to actually go after us. Let's go into this field. Oh, looks like it's not under pirate control anymore. Let's find a nice juicy field. Let's pick a fight. There's our rhino being built. Alright, so we see some ships here. They're actually passing through this field, but that's okay. They're pretty far away here. Let's get closer. Looks like they're actually going to us, which is fine. And that's probably close enough. Alright, so this is actually a true story. So what was happening was, you know, I added the carriers, I added the ability to dock, I added the ability to build ships inside of them. Let's actually go ahead, let's launch some fighters. So a carrier has its own hangar bay. These ships are just free. They're just built for free because it's a carrier. So you always are going to have some fighters here. Different carriers are going to have different fighters. But let's go ahead, let's just go back in here and watch the fireworks. So like I was saying, you know, I added these ability to build, to dock with, to build ships, things like that. And then I was like, well, how am I going to launch the ships? Launch the ships in the hangar itself, not these ships that I just launched. And I was thinking, you know, I could add some buttons here, I could add some buttons to tactical mode, but I really wasn't liking it. You know, I really wasn't liking it. I was really struggling where to add these interfaces. And right at that time, a player, you know, on the forums, he's like, hey, you know, here's a suggestion. Why don't you add launching of fighters to this screen right here, to this sort of fleet screen. You know, this screen here is meant to give you an easy way of just switching to another ship. There we go. So you can pilot it. You can, you know, just switch to any ship really rapidly. You have a nice list. You have their healths. You sort of also have your status screen. You know. So he suggested, hey, why don't you use that screen? Why don't you expand that screen to be able to launch docked ships from? And man, that was a great idea. You know, it was a great idea. It came right at the right time. It really saved me. So here now you have this filter between in-field ships and docked ships. It looks like we have a little bug here because, yeah, gotta fix that. Little bug here because some ships were just sort of bleeding through. So here we have docked ships, and here's our vultures. I'm going to say launch all these ships. I want to launch these gunships too. And let's watch our ships launch. So they are going to launch from this area right here instead of this standard. There's a vulture. That's the vulture that we built. Looks like our frigate is taking a little bit of a beating. There's another vulture. We can also build some more, launch some more of these ships too. So yeah, that came right at the right time. It really helped me. Man, oh man, did that help me. I was sort of struggling. You know, maybe it's the sleep deprivation, but I don't know what I would have went with. But I'm really happy that I went with this solution. So thank you very much, player, you know, who suggested this. Thank you very much. You really helped me. I'm pretty sure I helped you on the forum but I just want to thank you again if you're watching this. Yeah, we're doing pretty good. Our little fleet. Oh, there's a lot of fighters there, but looks like we're doing okay. We got some frigates here. Let's kind of get closer to them while I still talk. Actually, maybe I could do some. Switch to our buzzard here. Do some fighting. Buzzard has some nice chain guns, right? Just gonna rip these fighters apart. Sorry, guys. Sorry, not sorry. Just watch it from space. Nice little battle going on here. Yeah, we're gonna win this. So, yeah. So that's a way of launching ships. I think it's pretty intuitive here. You just hit the filter here, launch ships. There goes our enemy frigate. That's our last enemy. So after a fight, you know, so adding carriers led to a lot of questions. How should I do this? How should I do that? So a lot of work was actually spent just thinking things over. Um, and I'm like, okay, well, once you launch fighters from the hangar, what do you do after that? You know, what do you do after a battle? And I decided that after a battle, these launched fighters will just automatically go into the hangar. Okay, so unfortunately the game crashed. Bummer to that. So basically, let's see, can I get it to crash again? I'm gonna launch these fighters. There they go. There's quite a lot of bugs here that I need to sort out. Luckily, because this is a sort of the end game content, it's not going to affect new players, which I'm always really nervous about, affecting new players. It should only affect like you hardened veterans, you know, or somebody that played the game so much that they're probably going to put up with the bug here or there. So let's go ahead. So like I said, like I was saying, you launch these ships, you know, they do your combat, and when you go back to your carrier, they're just automatically back in your hangar. Of course, you can send them back to your fleet. They're not in your hangar anymore. They're just going to be in your fleet. So when you pilot your carrier, they're already launched. You know, if you just want them launched as escorts already, you can certainly do that. You can certainly do it that way. Let's go back to overworld mode. And let's look at our show fleet ships button here. Another way to dock these ships is in these interface here. You can just say dock with carrier. So I hope that you have a bunch of little tools just to make things a little easier to manage. Manage in that sense. Let's see. Anything else I want to cover? Okay, so initially there's going to be three. There's going to be three carriers. Let's find another battle. Let's see how it is here. Let's find another battle while I continue yapping. Looks like we have some nice. Doesn't look too big of a combat in here. Yeah. Looks like didn't really find any much combat in here, but whatever. So there's gonna be three carriers when this patch hits. The beggar carrier, a bounty hunter carrier, and a military carrier. Hopefully I'll be able to add more carriers, just give you more variety. Let's go ahead, let's undock. So now we're actually physically undocking from this carrier. We're back in this ship. This is our main ship here. Oh, bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. So our carrier's doing its own thing here. Flying to who knows where. Who are these guys? Let's see. Details. These are NU. Okay, so should we pick a fight? Override hostile. There we go. Launch some fighters. There we go. These guys don't know what's gonna hit them, right? Of course, I'm in the little ship, so I should kind of stay behind. There we go. There's our rude welcome. So there's gonna be 3 carriers, and one thing that I wanted to do that I didn't get a chance to is to make a mission to obtain a carrier. Right now, you just sort of captured a faction, and you're going to be sort of given the carrier in the sense that you can build it right away. That's kind of lame. You know, I want it to be better than this. Oh, these guys really have high tolerance for being attacked, huh? Once this ship goes down, I'm sure they won't like that. But anyway, I want to create some missions to actually obtain the plans to build the carrier. So hopefully I'll be able to do that. It's kind of iffy because, you know, I don't know if I'm going to have the proper time to do that with everything else that's going on. So speaking of that, the plan is to after this patch launches is to add in missions, story missions, finish the story, at which point the game is going to enter a beta phase. Wow, you guys are still not hostile, huh? These guys must have really loved me prior to this. Enter in the beta phase, at which point I'm gonna play the game from start to finish, start doing polishing. So in the beta phase, it doesn't mean that all the features are complete. It just means that all the features are generally there. Carriers were the last feature, to last major feature. So during the beta phase, I'm going to play the game start to finish, polish whatever I see, eventually get to the end game, which needs a ton of polish. Wow, these guys are finally mad at me, huh? Let's get the bounty hunters mad at me too. Didn't quite click that, did I? Go through all the story missions, polish it up, work on that. Game needs a ton of polish, especially towards the end game, especially as far as overworld combat goes, especially about the new at war features. They're just way too crazy currently. The at war features are way too crazy, they need to be polished down. Then hit release, and see what happens, see what my future holds. Hopefully have a really good release. Go from there. So as usual, guys, thank you very much for your support. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this. You know, it's pretty tough with the baby, but at the same time, it would be tougher with a baby and a full-time job. That's not Void Destroyer 2, to keep on working on this. So I appreciate your support. It allows me to continue working on the game. We'll see what the future brings, but definitely at this point, it's still working. Steam is a pretty shaky platform at the moment. There's shaky in terms of just constant change, constant barrage of competition. You know, competition is not good. You want to be a monopoly as a business owner. You want to be a monopoly. You don't want competition. As a gamer, I love all the new games coming out, but as a business owner, I'm like, ugh, come on, guys. But anyway, appreciate you guys so much. Hope you guys enjoy Carriers. Hope you guys post great feedback. Uh, Tell me about bugs, things like that. We'll certainly polish them up as best as we can. We'll get the game as stable as possible. There's bound to be a good amount of bugs here, honestly. Um, we'll work on that. We'll, you know, as always, we'll release the game. I kind of see it on the horizon, you know. But anyway, I'm rambling. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll talk to you guys later.